Are you a dentist looking to build wealth, maybe create passive income, and be able to eventually step away from the chair? Are there things that you feel like you should or could be doing, but you just don't know where to start? Hi, I'm Jonathan Moffat, a wealth strategist who's built and sold an 8-practice DSO. Now, I help dentists align their practice success with their personal financial freedom. Each week on this podcast, you'll discover strategies to boost your practice profitability, multiply your wealth, and transform your dental career into the lifestyle you've always dreamed of. This is Dental Wealth Multiplier.
I've ended up in a lot of conversations lately about people that have built really successful practices or groups and the concept of, well, I want to get out. You and I've talked about this a bit before. I want to exit. I don't know that I totally want to exit. I think I want to exit. I definitely want to exit. There's all these emotions and like thought processes and almost like the psyche. And I'm bringing it up, Jonathan, because I think I've discovered something. I know it was this way for me. What we all really want is we want to move out of being an operator and into being an investor. But that's pure Kiyosaki, right? Yep. The operator, though, is getting all the phone calls, doing the hiring, firing, is paying the price of every lost team member or lost doctor, whatever else. Like they're under fire still in the operator role. And what we want is we want to move. We would be content. We love the business in some ways. We'd be content to like enjoy the cash flow. We want to move into the investor quadrant. The problem is, this is what I'm discovering. Something about us as a people in an industry in dentistry. I have friends in mastermind groups and other industries that have no trouble moving from operator to investor. Really a simple transition. Something about dentist built companies, we really struggle to make that transition. In fact, what I think I'm putting my finger in right now is that the reason a lot of us do some sort of transaction, full, partial, whatever, is simply to force the change in relationship between us and the business. We didn't want to break up with it, but we had to do a deal to make the relationship different.
Interesting.
To get to the investor box. And so, man, I'm just sitting in this and like, I look back on my journey. That is the exact thing I wanted. I wanted to be the investor and I had to do it. And I tried for years. And I had to do a transaction to change my relationship with the business. So anyway, yeah, like, how much have you seen this?
I want to be careful, right? Because I'm not a dentist, right?
Are you going to say anti-dentite things? Because I can say those.
I'm not going to say anti-dentite things.
Okay. Yeah.
Great Seinfeld pull. But I don't know. So, okay, here's kind of, I'm going to go here and then I'm going to come back. Maybe it's not, I don't think it's just a dentist issue.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
I think as visionaries, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we all have a certain way that we want things done.
Yep.
Right. It's one of the reasons why do a lot of entrepreneurs have a hard time delegating?
Yep.
Why are a lot of entrepreneurs kind of do-it-yourselfers, right? Now, to some extent, you go, well, Jonathan, that's not true. I've got a front receptionist. Yeah, some of that's just a kind of natural, like you didn't go to dental school so you could answer a phone every day, right? I mean, that's just, and you can pay someone, $18-20 an hour to do that. But where it comes to, I think, in order to move from operator to investor, which I actually love that, right? You hear me talk a lot about like the best passive income vehicle is your practice. You're just not running it that way, running it as an active business, an active investment, right? That delegation has to go a step further. And this is what I'm going to pull it back around to. I was at dinner last night with a client of mine and his associate. We're getting tacos, Taco Tuesday. And we're sitting there with him and his associate. And the topic of, we're talking about kind of AI and CEREC and 3D printing and how fast, how quickly kind of technology is catching up and how it's going to change the industry. You're having this conversation. And he makes this comment. He goes, because I said, look, as a patient, I would personally, because I value my time, I would pay an extra $100-$150 or whatever it was to sit there for 20 minutes while my crown was 3D printed. So I didn't have to come back and have my temporary taken off and my crown put back, right? He goes, so then he said something to the effect of like, he's like, well, most dentists are okay with that because it's less than it's like less quality work, right? It's like, it's not up to my standard. And I think there's like a connection there, right? Where it's like, it's not up to my standard. And that's kind of an interesting topic, and one where I'm not going to go too far because I want your input on that as a dentist, because I think as business owners and entrepreneurs, we all have to have like this certain level that we want our team to perform. We like, if we're going to put our name on it, it's got to be at a certain level. But I also think that a lot of us are perfectionists, almost to a fault, where it's like my wife will make fun of me. I'll be working on something. I'll be like whittling or whatever it is. Like, I'll be working on a project and it's good. It's fine. Right. But then I see that one little piece that's out of place, and I got to go mess with that one little piece out of place. And then what happens, Eric?
Oh, I know.
It jacks up the entire thing. And I'm like, if I would have just left it alone, no one would have known, blah, blah, blah. Right. And so I think whatever that is what a lot of, if you can figure out how to shut that off.
You're hitting the nail on the head. We can't let go. Do you know what that is, Jonathan? There is a connection between our identity and our profession.
Yeah.
In other words, that piece of like perfection mindset has been imbued to what we're doing every day, where the two, like, that's who I am. In other words, I can't change my relationship with the business because the business and me as the operator is who I now am. That's how I know myself. I can't break up with it unless somebody breaks me up. You know, it's like, it's almost like, hey, I can't break up with you, but I need you to break up with me. Because like, and you know what that is? It's an unhealthy relationship.
Yep. 100%.
That's exactly what you just established. Yep. So what I just heard, like my complex, what I heard you saying is that this is a sign that we have an unhealthy relationship with our occupation. And I think it is more common with dentists than it is with other people, because we have to own the crap out of what we do.
Yeah. And so what you're saying at the beginning is like, instead of me going to therapy and figuring out how to have a healthy relationship, I'm just going to get divorced or break up with a sale to move on. And the reality is most of us, what happens once that sale's done, you're like, I'm going to go start another practice.
Right. And is it because we just want to be in the unhealthy relationship again? I will say this. I'm there right now.
Okay.
But
where's there?
I am like getting back into owning again, and something that I thought that I would never do again because of what you and I have talked about. Like, this is the greatest investment. I have access to it, and I'm a skilled wizard in this space.
You're really good.
I should be freaking doing this. And so, but what's interesting is because I've broken up with it, because I did the identity work, because I learned how to have a healthy relationship, like, I'm not stepping into that. I'm not going to, I have like already, I couldn't even go back into that unhealthy relationship again. And I'm approaching it that way. You know, when I'm looking for high profit practices that are a great fit for me and not for the rest of the world, I can be really clear about like, listen, this is who I am. This is who I'm not. This is the line in the sand. This is the benefit. And this is like what you might not like about me. And so to do a lot of personal work though, Jonathan, I had to sever my relationship. I had to break up with the profession. Do you know, I left dentistry 3 times, bro. Just keeps calling me back like a tapeworm. Interesting, right?
So it's funny as you're saying that, I was thinking the very first version of an associate that I had in my business. I was sitting here laughing. I'm like, oh man, I'm sure I was so ridiculous. And bless him for having the patience with me that he did, because it's one of these things where I was like, okay, go ahead and send out this email. And then he would type up the email and he'd say, look at it. And I would like change like 3/4 of the email, right? When in reality, the email he created was probably fine, but it wasn't how I would have said. And so then I spent, right. And so I think I was talking to someone the other day. We were talking about the practices that I owned. And I said, look, I said, I don't know whether it is or isn't. I choose to see it as an advantage. And this is why I had a slight advantage. And that's what I'm not a dentist. When we had a doctor call out sick, or we were going to need to hire, like the option was never get Jonathan in here to do that. If we had a doctor do a crown, I don't have the training, the clinical background, the licenses to sit there and go, hey, that crown doesn't look right. You need to change it. It's off a little bit. It doesn't right. I didn't have that right now. We want to visionaries, and I was going to say business. There's a new word we can use. Business owners.
Who's a visionary out in here? Yeah.
As entrepreneurs, as visionaries, as people, like we want to we're not saying don't take pride in what you should have pride in what you do. At the end of the day, your Eric J. Roman's name is stamped on that, right? You're not saying let's go create a lesser product, but how do you learn to let go? How do you learn to make that transition? Do you need someone to come in and say, hey, don't worry about what that crown looks like. It's fine. It'll be okay. Yes. Let's just move on. Or how do you learn to do that yourself so that you're not spending that immense amount of time and resources and stressing over these things that maybe in the long run aren't really that important, but are keeping you from progressing to investor?
The answer is yes. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, is it possible? It requires a lot of work. But the thing is, so with one of my dear friends that gives me the blessing of coaching her, that was the exact topic. As I said, hey, the issue here isn't the thing that we think it is. Like, this is about your relationship with the business. And so if we could solve for that, and I told her, I was like, straight up, I said, listen, this might mean therapy. Like, this might mean getting your therapist and figuring out why you can't break this identity connection to the business. But if you can, and if you're committed to doing it, it's funny. We think that the strategy is letter of intent, this, that, the other. That's not the strategy. The strategy is dealing with your crap. The strategy is dealing with the internal relationship that has to be broken to the business, the unhealthy internal relationship, the broken relationship, the whatever is at the root of it. And that's the strategy, And so I do think it's possible. I don't think it'll be common. Like, I think that this is like, I could talk about it all I want. And like, prayerfully, it helps one person. But like, yeah. So it's an interesting reframe that like, hey, no wonder like DSOs are succeeding and like convincing us to do transactions. It's because they're actually preying upon the fact that our identity is connected to the business. And yet we have to figure out how to break that, Yeah. So maybe that's what DSOs are, is they're just a form of expensive therapy, right? Like,
Well, and look, it doesn't come with maybe some mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. Right. People are going to do things not the way. Again, I'll just share a real story. While we were scaling and growing, and I brought on a couple team members and had kind of working my way out of the operator role. Right.
Yep.
Something happened with a long-term client of ours, and it wasn't even really our fault. It was another team member kind of outside of our firm. But at the end of the day, buck stops with me, right? It's my client, it's my business. I have to take ownership. And I remember having this conversation. It was a tough conversation, and they're still clients of ours, but I was like, we might lose this client over this. And it was just an opportunity to kind of take some self-reflecting and be like, look, it's not how I would have done it. It shouldn't have happened this way. But we're going to use it as an opportunity to learn, to create some training. Maybe there was a gap in our SOPs, right, that we needed to address, right? Yeah. And so I think you have to first make this distinction, I think, as if you want it bad enough, if you want to move from operator to investor, or again, you've heard me say this before. I was just speaking a few weeks ago, and I asked this question. I said, of all the doctors, like 60 doctors in the room, I said, burnout, stress, it's real, right? I mean, it's the number one reason why doctors are exiting dentistry is they're just completely burned out. Yeah. But if you could design your day, your week, your month to just come in and work the times, the hours, the days you wanted to, and just do the things you wanted to do that you gave you the most reward, the most value, you got the most value out of, how much longer could you practice dentistry?
Yes.
And every hand goes up and goes, I could do that forever. I could do that for the next 15 years. Well, time out. 3 minutes ago, you said you're ready to go. In fact, you're at this conference looking for someone to buy your practice. Now you're saying you could do it forever. And then Eric, this is one of those things where it like dawned on me, like in the moment, I'm like, ooh, hey, if you're an administrator or a support, or you're a like operator supporting the doctor, and you want to keep your doctor around longer, what do you think you should do? I don't know, maybe figure out how to help them work the time that they want to work, the days they want to work, doing the procedures that they want to do, and take the rest of the stuff off of their plate, right? Now, we're fortunate to live in a time where technology is catching up to that, where technology is going to, I think, start solving some of those issues, right? Like going back to my example of what my client said last night about, well, if some doctors are okay with that quality of work, right? Meaning like that's a lesser quality than what I'm used to giving my patients. okay, well, guess what? I don't know. In the next 2 years, probably not going to be an issue because you're going to have an AI program design the CAD file for the tooth, which is going to be ergonomically, you would know, like cosmetically exactly how it should be. You're going to then have a 3D printer print the thing. You're going to have it stain it, whatever, glaze it, all the other stuff, and it's ready to go. And it's going to be an actual perfect rendition of that, which is going to fit better than it probably ever has before because AI is going to know where all the technical terms, not me. But so even that piece is going to be solved. And this kind of goes back to the last thing I'll say is I was speaking a couple weeks ago. We were talking about SOPs. Can you help me create our SOPs? Can you help me? Who can help me create? And I was like, what's the cool thing? The cool thing about this technology, about like how quickly technology advancing is, people are running out of excuses.
Oh gosh, I love it. I freaking
There's
love
no
it.
more.
It's like
Eventually, it's going to be the only excuse is going to be, I don't want to do it. That's going to be the only excuse. I don't want to do it. It kind of already is the only excuse, honestly, right? Because I can go into ChatGPT, and I've done this live presenting before, create a step-by-step procedure for how to sterilize, and it literally is, it's okay, maybe it's not 100%, but it's 95%, and then you go, but it's like, so anyways.
I love it. I mean, I think we nailed this. So I'm going to summarize, right?
Summarize.
We have discovered a thing, maybe not the first to discover it, but the reality is that our relationship with dentistry is unhealthy. And if we approach this like an unhealthy relationship, and instead of trying to break up with it to solve the unhealthy relationship, we did some therapy to solve for it, we could actually have a lot more of what we want without the things we don't. And there's a real benefit to that. There's value there. It's healthy. And so like maybe our encouragement is that stop running away from the problem and do a little bit of the work, and your future is going to be a lot healthier than your past was, and that you can maintain the legacy and the beauty of what you have without maybe the obligation to like tap out, And so I think that's a good summary.
Thanks for joining us on Dental Wealth Multiplier. To make sure you don't miss an episode, go ahead and click the subscribe button. You can also visit us at dentalwealthmultiplier.com to get access to the links or materials mentioned in today's podcast. You can also see other episodes and get access to the most recent reports, tools, and information to continue your wealth building journey.